Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Today, we continue our director spotlight for Michael Mann, and today on the docket is The Insider. It was released on November 5th, 1999. It was based on a Vanity Fair article called The Man Who Knew Too Much by Marie Brenner, and it was written for the screen by Michael Mann and Eric Roth. It was directed by Michael Mann. I am Colton Robertson. I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And I am also joined by 𝗠𝗶𝗰𝗵𝗲𝗍 Pennington. What's up, buddy?
Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. Man, this is the first one. It's
No,
Michael
you
Mann.
didn't. You said that in the Vanity Fair article title too, and I was like, Michael Mann directed.
Yeah, man,
The Man Who Knew Too Much.
The man. He had a movie a couple weeks back called Manhunter, so that was
That's
a fun
true.
one. You know, we really played that up. But The Insider, this was a surprise. This was Manhunter was a first watch for me as well, but I like this one quite a bit. Tavares, how are you feeling about The Insider fresh off of this viewing?
This was one of the most interesting movies I've seen since Spotlight, honestly, which has very similar journalistic feel to it. But it was not at all what I was expecting, honestly.
Yeah, no, I didn't know exactly what I was getting into besides, tobacco industry, and then I didn't even know it was a journalistic angle. I knew it was a whistleblower, and that was it. But I didn't know in what capacity he blew the whistle. So I didn't
know in what way they depict this as a thriller. I was like, is this going to be like man's life is about to end, or is it like somebody's after him? Is it like his life, all of it? Yeah, all of it, really.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Joe, how are you feeling about The Insider fresh off of this?
Oh, yeah, it's just I need to get more journalistic movies under my belt, it seems, because I've only seen two, and it's this one and The French Dispatch, at least that I can remember very well, and both of them are incredible movies. And like I have the urge to want to be a journalist much more after this one, though. I think
right.
it's like French Dispatch it's great, and it's more of a fun take on it, and it's more
of an artistic thing going on there,
Yeah. But this is like probably dramatized. I don't think this is exactly how it goes down in the. I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe this is how
pretty hard hitting.
It was.
I liked specifically in the end credits how they said these parts of the these elements of the movie were dramatized, but these things did happen. It was like a postscript a little bit. I think maybe after the last scene, where they had
it fades to black, and then they give you here's what happened to this guy. Here's what happened to this guy. Here's what happened.
Maybe okay. I remember that now.
And it was while some of the events were dramatized, this is roughly how it went down, and as far as the journalistic side of things, they might have taken some liberties with the way Lowell Bergman went about getting it out.
Early into this, I'm going to go ahead and say my favorite scene is the final. Is that the final scene where Lowell Bergman is walking out? He's like, I quit. And they play the music and he's in slow motion. And I'm like, what did he just walk out of the CIA or something? No, he walked out of CBS.
He did walk out of that building you're right. Yeah.
He was Jason Bourne. He was the most highly prized secret weapon. And I'm just this
bro had the principles,
he's the hero, there's two heroes I'd say of the movie.
Oh, for sure.
But I don't know, I liked Pacino's character a whole lot more. I thought it was I've never really had this journalism fire or spark ever I've always thought it'd be, cool to do, but this was like, oh, I see like why people are so passionate about it. Like this is, you could, I mean, really get passionate and like for doing the right thing, not for, the money and all the clicks and all that sort of stuff. This was a really cool angle that I've never really thought about before.
I really urge you to, when you get a chance, watch Spotlight. I don't know if there's a way that we could fit that in sometime soon, but that movie, because
probably figure out a way to cover that, because that's a fantastic fucking movie. I haven't watched it in a couple years, but it's astonishingly well made.
You're not Catholic, are you, Joseph?
I was born Catholic.
Baptized.
But yeah, baptized Catholic. Not confirmed, and then on my own, I'm no longer part of the religious group.
Gotcha. Well, then you'll find Spotlight quite interesting.
You're like you aren't devoutly Catholic, right?
Right. You kind of got to lead with that.
No, I am not. So
you might not like it if you are. But
exactly.
No, it's.
There's I just read the
little synopses there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
No, I love a journalistic movie. I think it's and the fact that this one isn't 2 hours and 40 minutes, and the fact that it isn't really nothing but a journalism movie until the last hour and some change is really fucking cool. Like you get to a point towards the middle, like towards the end of the second act, I would say, where you're like, oh God, why do we have an hour left in this movie? Like you're like,
yeah, it is
what's
weird...
gonna fucking happen here? Because for a movie that, I mean, like me and Joe have been carving through a little bit of Michael Mann's filmography, and it's been much more flashy. It's been much more guns, death, violence, in Thief, Manhunter, and Heat. And getting to this one, you got the thriller, you got the mystery, you're anticipating something similar. But no one dies, no one gets killed. There's nothing like that. And I would argue this is more intense than any of the three movies we watched prior in terms of on the edge of your seat shit.
Paranoia. Like they got the paranoia down so well. I mean, like there were so many moments when like it's the most mundane thing happening. Like he's in the back of a police car, riding with them, and like they stop at a stoplight. That's all they're doing. They're in like the best part of town, I guess. But he's like, this is maybe a setup where I'm gonna die here. Like he's like, I could die right here. And then like they just drive on, and he's like, oh, like he's like, holy shit, And all they did was stop at a stoplight. Or I guess the raccoon. It seemed that foot. I don't know. Do you think that footprint and the breaking of the thing in the garden? Like, do you think someone actually was back there, or do you think it was him? And
I think someone was, because I can't remember if that scene was before or after he was at the golf range.
Right after.
It was, that's what I thought. It was right after. Which was giving me the impression like bro was absolutely being followed. And
someone's
the way
watching him,
that was like early on, I was like, wow, like I have to pay attention to the way that they're framing these scenes, because like the way that they show paranoia by just like this man like being like, I like to play golf rather than talk about it, and he's just playing golf and some other guy is playing too, and you're just like, why am I so scared? Like what the fuck?
Yeah. And there's this music, I don't know, the score, it's kind of like this
it's so good.
Unsettling like background noise that always plays whenever he's like in that paranoia kind of mode.
And then I loved the score of this movie. Like you had that paranoid score, and then you also had whenever there was like a bright moment, and there was like that really choral vocal theme that was like a choir singing together. I loved that shit.
Awesome. The score was awesome. It even sounded like The Last of Us for one scene. I remember I was like listening to the music, and I'm like, man, this kind of sounds exactly like The Last of Us, like the main theme of like that opens the show, and I'm like, man, the music was everywhere, and I thought it was awesome.
It sounded so ahead of its time. Like I felt like there were just elements of this movie with the cinematography as well as the soundtrack that just seemed like it was a movie that was made in like 2010, not 1999.
Yeah, that's one thing I've actually noticed on the Michael Mann like spotlight. I'm usually one to not really notice a soundtrack or a score, But like off Thief, like watching that, I was in love with the music, but apparently it's like not liked at all. Like people like it's Tangerine Dream, whatever. I don't know. I haven't really heard of them, but I'm like watching the movie. I'm like, this fucking goes hard. I'm like,
It was like nominated for a Razzie.
For the worst. Yeah, for one of the worst.
Really?
But I'm like, it was like, I guess
that's the thing. Like you said something about him being ahead of his time, and that's kind of something we've come away from each of the last 3 movies feeling is that like there's something about Mann that's vaguely ahead of the curve. Like he's doing something that people aren't really doing for another 5-10 years later. And
the trendsetter.
Yeah, there's an intensity here that like, I mean, this came out the same year as like Fight Club.
Yeah, 99. Wow. Matrix.
Yeah.
What else is like 99? Yeah, that's this. And it has an older feel, but also like a new. It's now that you say Matrix and Fight Club, like those kind of seem like newer, modern-ish movies.
Just in terms of the story, yeah.
Oh, I guess this is set back. Oh,
yeah.
I guess true. It would be. Like, what year is this?
95.
Like, oh, so it's not that far back. Okay.
No. It's mid 90s, but no, yeah. Like there's in terms of the storytelling, it's interesting because it feels like in a purely filmmaking aspect, it is more akin to the action thriller, and like this isn't an action movie in any capacity, but it has that sort of tangible intensity that you're like, it might as well be gunfire and car chases and shit. And that's not at all what this movie is. And it feels more akin to some of the stuff that came out in the late 2000s, early 2010s in that capacity. I think another thing that helps, emphasize the age of the movie a little bit is, Russell Crowe. This is baby Russell Crowe right here.
Looking young. Yeah. He deteriorates over the movie. They do a good job of showing him like getting worse and like just kind of giving up a little bit.
The anxiety I felt in the hotel scene with the desk guy who's coming, and he's like, he's not answering. I don't know what you want, and he's just like, just tell him. And I'm like, this is intense.
I thought he was dead already. I thought because he started, he was looking out the window. He called, fuck you, whatever, blah blah blah. Or no, I don't even think it was just. Oh, he watched. He saw it. Was that what happened? Like he saw the interview show up, but it wasn't him. He was all blacked out and stuff like that. Is that what he was watching then? Okay.
I'm also I would kind of want to work through some of those last steps because I'm kind of confused on how exactly everything happened. Like, did they eventually release the full unedited interview?
They did eventually, and that's my favorite scene of the movie is the vindication of the actual full interview being displayed and his kids watching it on the couch. There was like I actually cried with this movie.
It was a crying moment.
Whenever his daughter was watching the TV and then she looks up to him in that moment. I was like, because that's what it was for. Like that is why he wanted this out for the people, and then he wanted them to know why he needed to do it, why he put them in danger, why this all happened. So whenever he got that vindication, and then Al Pacino, rolls over and hugs his wife and is like, and she's like, "You won." He's like, "Did I?"
That's maybe my line. Yeah, that was another option. And he says, "Yeah, but what did I win?" Like, what did I win?
He's so dramatic.
At first, I thought he was trying to be like, sexy time? Like, what did I win? I won, what did I win? But then I'm like, oh, no, this is much more of a I love their relationship. They're like perfect for each other. Like they were just so chill, and like he'd come home and like just be like, they'd have like philosophical conversations, and it would seem that they were mad at each other, but you could tell that that's just like how they talk. That's just that's just what they were about. But no, I like Bergman, Lowell. I don't know, what do you call him? Bergman or Lowell? Lowell? How do you
Lowell Bergman, right?
Lowell, yeah, that's just a hard word for me to say. I don't know.
Yeah, Lowell Bergman.
Lowell or Lowell? Like, is it one syllable or two?
Technically
Ooh,
too, but
wow.
nobody's going to fault you for saying lol.
Okay, I'm gonna stick with Bergman.
That's cool. I'll know who
I
you're
think
talking
I don't
about.
know.
Lolo.
I just like it. It's too weird for me to say, but he got my character like for sure. I was
too.
like without a doubt. I'm like this guy. Like he sparked this like journalistic thing in me I didn't even know existed, and also just like he's like as close to like a I don't know, not a superhero, but like he's doing it for like the best reasons you could possibly do it for.
Absolutely.
You know, and like he's a man of his word. You know, he was like if you're the source, like your story's going to get out. I'm not going to leave you to dry or whatever. And then whenever it does happen, he's like, I can't continue on anymore. Like, how can I even continue on knowing that this happened? I go up to my next person and say, hey, you know, we got you or whatever. Like, he's
Maybe.
like, I can't promise them anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like what a moral compass, like a moral compass of a character that can also be Al Pacino at some points, you know, when he's just saying some
got a great ass.
yeah. Oh man, yeah. I don't know. I wonder if the tortious interference sounds like a disease caught by a radio. He said, and it gave I don't know. It gave Christopher Plummer like an actual like laugh. I felt like I don't know. It felt like it was kind of an improv moment because his laugh felt so real in that moment. But no, I'm going with. I just had that there so I'd remember it, the line. But I'm going with the "You won."
There's some incredible chemistry put on display by like a couple of the duos in here. Al Pacino and Russell Crowe, obviously, and their scenes together. They are firing on all cylinders. But Al Pacino and Christopher Plummer, they were going in together in this one. There's a moment where I ultimately went with Russell Crowe for my performance, but there was a moment in the middle of the movie where I almost went with Al Pacino for like a single fucking look. It was one thing he did, and I was like, "Oh man, that might be my favorite thing anyone's done in this movie." And it's when he's fighting for his guy. You know, he's fighting for his boys. And he's like, "No, like we're not gonna do this. We're not." And he's like, "Mike, come on." And he's like, "I'm with Don on this one." And he's like full, and then he just leaves. Like he goes back to zero. And looks at him with like complete contempt. And he's just like,
he's rambling. He's on a rant. You know, he's pissed.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you guys are fucking terrible. Like, since when did the lawyers or the presidents decide what we put on, you know, whatever. Like, and he even had some, I don't know, legal document where he's like, oh, and we're about to sell some shares to Westinghouse and look who profits off it the most. You motherfucker, and you're getting this much money, and this deal's gonna make it look bad. Is that why we're not airing the story? You know, he's like, one, is he telling the truth? Yes, he is. You know, or whatever. Two, is this like a something that the public should know? Yes. And it's like, from that, then the answer's clear. Like, we're gonna air it. You know, I loved how he broke everything down, and like, I really thought that Mike was like gonna come around and be like, oh, you know, yeah, like, he's right. Like, in this case, because he is, you know, like, I think everyone in that office knows he's right, but they're just so afraid of what can happen because, I mean, Big Tobacco, I mean, it's a villain entity that I didn't know existed, really. But it makes sense. You know, we got Big Pharma now. I'd say Big Tobacco was the worry before, though. I don't know, really, like, it's... Another thing that kind of dates the movie is we obviously know cigarettes are very addictive and that they are very bad for you. You know, it's like... And
that the tobacco companies know that.
Yeah, and like on every nicotine thing that you buy, a massive label that is like hazardous, addictive, you know, nicotine is very addictive now, you know, or whatever. But before it was, hey, you want to look fucking cool in middle school? Go buy a pack of cigarettes and smoke.
Well, it was like the whole, I don't know, like the section where they're breaking down the legalities of it, and they're like, how can we run the story? What can we do? Mm-hmm. And one of them is like it's the classic, I don't know, you know, like, we give it to you, whatever happens to you after that, I don't know. It's up to you, man. Like, that's on you. I loved that beat in the movie. There was and I love the way that Christopher Plummer's Mike Wallace at the end, you know, his justification for being on the side CBS, which I didn't.
I mean,
I didn't love.
But it worked.
No, I
at
get
least
it.
for them. Yeah. I don't know. Didn't he like come into Bergman's like hotel room or something like that? And then he was like, oh, that's right. Yeah, he's like, when you get to my age, or like that's it's a whole different factor.
People only remember what you did at the end, basically. And if I aired an interview that led CBS to being bought out by Brown and Williamson, that's all I'd be remembered for. And like, I get that. But I love the way that whenever Al Pacino's character, Lowell Bergman, quits, and he looks at me and goes, I quit. And he goes like, no, you're not. You're fucking with me. And he's like, no, I quit. And then he like walks out and he like looks back at him, and there's like this flash of a smile on Christopher Plummer's face.
Yes.
Dude,
that's what I thought.
Fucking loved that.
Oh
that
my God.
got me.
And it just makes you think about that scene where he was like, where he realized the interview got cut off, Christopher Plummer's character, and he's just like, what the fuck? Like, are you gonna tell me? I think that was like what he was in. He was like, you're gonna tell me after doing this shit for 50 years, like that I don't know what I'm doing? And I was just like, you could see that like there was this apathy almost, or just this willingness to be aggressive with the influencers or the people who like claim control over a corporation at that level. Like they needed to have some of that feistiness, and him saying I quit was the most feisty thing he could say, especially when he's going to go work for the competitor. I think it said he went and worked for a Frontline on PBS.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe I didn't catch that. Maybe I just closed the movie off right at the end with the credits. Yeah, mate. I didn't know that he went on to do stuff. I think I just turned it off. Man, I should have.
I wouldn't blame you for that. Honestly,
no, I didn't realize it was. And I mean, like it
was. That's the only blemish to me, is like it felt like parts of this movie were really windy and long and over bloated. Honestly.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, this is one of those rare ones where I think the format. I think me and Joe talked about this with Manhunter quite a bit. Like, there's a whole first hour of the movie which is dedicated to the investigation of a serial killer, and then like 35 out of the last 40 minutes are about the serial killer. Like that is what we were doing the rest of the movie. And I think there's an interesting thing done here where the first hour and 45 minutes of this movie are about his trying to overcome all his circumstance and testifying at the interview at Wigand.
Yes.
That's who I'm talking about. And then ultimately the last hour of the movie is about Bergman trying his best to make sure that he did right by Wigand throughout the time. And I do think that structurally, like, there's a few things in this movie that are there more to dictate the time period it's taking place in. There's a relevancy thing where like the Unabomber stuff was interesting. Like, the fact that he was like, Lowell Bergman was just like on the side finding the Unabomber.
That's a nuts thing. I didn't know there was like a hunt for him. I thought it was just he did it and
me too
got caught. I had no idea there was like a hunt for him at all.
Well, and that cut to him staying in that fucking cabin and then looking out his window and looking straight at a trailer, and you don't even really know what the fuck that is until the end of the movie when they're like, we found the Unabomber, and you're like, what the fuck? This dude was just like, he was so preoccupied with this big tobacco thing that he was like, gotta go take a vacation. Guess I'll go find the fucking Unabomber. Like,
at the beginning of the movie, he was blindfolded and taken into some fucking like drug cartel or like something, like I think it was just to show that that's what that's just like
that's what he does,
journalist to do. It's like
it was the first example of, I thought we were about to get into something extremely relevant. I did whenever the gentleman he was interviewing was like, why should I go on a pro-Zionist media conglomerate and talk about my reasonings? I was gonna be like, oh, okay, here we go, let's fucking do this thing. Like I guess I gotta be ready for this tomorrow. But ultimately that was only like 5 minutes of the movie. I think it was more than anything to show the sort of stuff that Lowell, what his job was. His job was to go there and secure that interview. and in that scenario specifically, it could have meant his death. Like there was no guarantee that he was going to make it out. And one of my favorite shots of this movie actually came during that opening sequence where he had the burlap sack over his head in the car. One of my favorite visual languages of this movie is the close-ups that take up like half the screen, and it's like perfectly split down the middle of their face, and then the background behind them, and there's like the atmosphere behind them, and the burlap sack over his face kept fluctuating in and out of focus, and it was very cool. It wasn't ultimately my shot, but it did go on to influence what I did pick for my shot, which was Russell Crowe in his hotel room towards the end of the movie, whenever it seems like he's thinking about taking a leap, and he's sitting there, and you see half his face, and his eyes are full of tears, and he's really, really dark, dimly lit, but there's light behind him, and that's fucking gorgeous. But
is that when the walls like start to change and he like sees
it's
his
right
kids
before that?
Yeah,
it's right before
that.
that.
Dude, that was awesome. No, yeah, like I think I see it. Well, maybe not. That's not it. Actually, I don't know. In the graphic you made, there's
my graphic does have the shot I picked.
Okay, I thought so. But yeah, the half frame face, I didn't pick up on that, but they did do that a lot. I was going back and forth. I put one in here to remember it. Just the Japanese, whenever they're at that, were they at like one of his Japanese students' house? Like he was teaching. He was a Japanese teacher as well as a chemistry teacher.
Mm-hmm.
But he was teaching Japanese to someone in a like very Japanese house, Like was that a house or was that like a school?
I took that to be a Japanese restaurant, like a very authentic.
Oh, it's just a restaurant?
Yeah, like the person he speaks Japanese to before is.
I thought that was like
a waitress.
Oh, maybe I don't know. I thought it was like a child. Like
Lowell was sitting across from him, and
he was talking to Bergman.
I thought it was like a literal kid that like came up because he spoke Japanese to him. He was like, or whatever. For some reason I thought it was like a child that he was talking to.
I mean, I guess it would make sense. It just feels like an odd spot for him to meet with his.
No, that is not a child. I read that just the whole thing so wrong. I'm like,
I think it's just a really authentic Japanese restaurant with like a back room for them to be privately in, and
I see. Yeah, but I don't know. I guess all of that to build up. I'm a sucker for Japanese aesthetics. I absolutely love their culture and their dinner tables. I swear we need to get on this wave. Like low seats, the cushions on the floor. It's a comfy. It feels more personal. I feel like we need to get on that wave of getting our tables lower to the fucking ground. And but I thought the shot was also just awesome when it pulled back and it just showed both of them sitting like crisscross. I think it's hilarious seeing like people just sitting crisscross applesauce. Yeah. I don't know why, but like if it's like a famous person and they're just like it feels just such like a childish thing to do. It's just sitting down. I don't know why it's funny to me. But
Al Pacino sitting crisscross applesauce is a little funny.
Yeah, why is that funny? I don't know, but it is to me.
No, I get it. There was a really interesting editing choice during that where Michael Mann breaks a very basic rule of filmmaking, and I gotta guess it was intentional. Where he breaks the 180-degree rule, where he keeps cutting back and forth to opposite sides of the table, and Russell Crowe's on the left side of the screen, Al Pacino's on the right, and then it cuts to another angle where Al Pacino's on the left and Russell Crowe's on the right.
Yes.
And it keeps doing that throughout their conversation. And it's kind of the way that I've always perceived breaking that rule, if done well, and I think this movie does a decent job of it, is showing different sides of an argument. So like whenever Russell Crowe was making a point, he was on the left side of the screen, and then when Al Pacino was making a point, he was on the left side of the screen, or maybe it was the right side, which would make more sense, but like that sort of thing. So it was an interesting back and forth that I just stuck out to me. I really appreciated it, but
I noticed another 180 break, like he broke it again. Whenever he's going back in to sign the new agreement, disclosure agreement with his, with the company. And he tells him, like, fuck you guys, you know, like he storms out. Yeah, it goes behind his head, and like it's, to me, that was like a clear, like, all right, we're breaking the 180 because now he's in fuck you mode, sort of thing, you know, he's like, now he's on a whole different.
You went from the right side of the screen to the left side of the screen, and there was
but
I
didn't notice. That's right. In that scene, it was a very jumpy back and forth. And they were also, I think they were there for a long time as well, because like it showed, like I feel like it was not daytime, but sort of somewhat still light-ish outside, and then it was like very dark outside. And I think like it was to show that they've just been talking for a long time.
Right. It seemed that these two had that sort of relationship whenever they drop the kids off at school, and then you know, they go and park somewhere on the waterfront, and then, you know, he's like, well, I got to go pick the kids up. It's been a half day. Even if it's a half day, it's been like 3.5 or 4 hours. You know what I'm saying?
They've been talking. Yeah, no. I
think it's a big deal.
Yeah, no, it kind of shows like the intention that Bergman had when he was dealing with his sources, because it's like he was willing to pretty much spend as much time as he needed to do what he needed to do and to hear what he needed to hear, which is not a thing that I think most journalism is perceived as doing.
No, yeah, I'm with you.
This was like, I loved the internals of CBS, and then like Pacino having to use other news like New York Times and like other things because like they just weren't doing it, you know, and like
did I tell you you're wrong?
Yeah, and like journalists are like cool enough like with each other, like they're all, you know, they're rivals, I guess, but they're in it for the same ideals. If you can, you know, I felt like that guy he was talking with
versus on screen and stuff. There's a little bit less of a rivalry there, but you know, ultimately it is warring corporations and stuff. But when it comes to journalistic integrity, I feel like there's an understanding amongst journalists in general that stands to, like, if you're trying to do the right thing, if you're trying to say the right thing, it doesn't matter what company you work for or where you are and what we're doing.
Exactly.
Because I like that was one thing, because I mean, like, there was a point in my life where that was what I was going to pursue. I went to Mizzou to get a journalism degree, and I was all in on that. And obviously that didn't last long, but I really did. I still love that culture and that spirit and that and everything that goes with it. And that aspect of this movie was overwhelmingly cool to me. Like, I loved Al Pacino. Al Pacino's Lowell Bergman is just so easily my favorite character in this movie. And, you know, when it comes to the Mann movies we've covered, maybe my favorite Michael Mann character we've had.
Ooh, talk about it. Yeah, let's see. We got, you know, Vincent Hanna and Neil McCauley in Heat. They're pretty cool, but I'm never like behind one of them. I'm like, I am actively rooting for Al Pacino. Like Lowell. I can't. Yeah, I tried to do it. Bergman. Like, I am actively rooting for him and actively like I think he's cool like every time he's on screen. I'm like, this guy just fucks. Like this, he's like just an overall. He's on it. You know, he's a hard-working journalist. He got the Unabomber. He freaking broke down Big Tobacco, you know, and dude,
on the side.
Yeah. It's just that's your life.
Bro was catching the Unabomber to kill time.
That's a crazy life to live. Like, I remember we were talking about like detective movies make me sometimes think like, ooh, I want to be a detective. But then you'll see all that shit and you're like, maybe not. You know, you think about it, it's like, I don't know. Journalism though.
It's one of the most important jobs.
It is. And Spotlight had a very similar effect on me, where I was like, holy shit, like journalism, that's the thing that's important. I can like do something with that. And now, being on what's colloquially called the dark side of journalism, of public relations, this movie was very interesting to see kind of why things like public relations exist, because it's to kind of navigate these complex situations where you're dealing with corporate interests along with like moral vindication, moral responsibility. It was very unique seeing the way that journalists talk with each other, because it was kind of like they're testing, like each one is testing the other's, I guess, moral
integrity,
fortitude. Yeah, integrity.
Yeah, it's just like how scientists peer review each other and make sure they're all right. It's like it's the same. It's like a science. I mean, it's like it's the truth, and you don't, if you're caught lying like one time, like you're fucked. It's kind of like career ending if you don't hold your integrity. And
it used to be.
I guess fair enough. I was gonna say it's a whole different ballgame. I feel like
devastating thing about this movie is like watching this and recognizing what journalism like once was, and to see like what it's kind of become.
It's they're fighting big tobacco, and then like the more modern version, I guess, would be like big pharma. But there's also the big media, I guess now. It's like they have like it is. I just feel like it is controlled to a point that we don't think it's controlled as much as it is.
We've reached a point where we can hardly trust our journalists. And that's a dangerous place to be, like especially in a democratic society, that is one of the most dangerous places you can arrive, is where you're not sure what network you can trust. You're not sure what journalists you should be listening to, because you don't know what intentions they have, who they're working for, what's going on, and that's why it's like, that was part of why I lost interest in becoming a journalist, is because I was like, I would love to, and obviously we're not doing like hard hitting deep work here, but I get to be honest. I get to say things that I think, I get to say things that I believe, and I get to, speak free of any interference with what I have to say. And
it's like the evolution of media. It's like, at first you had to like go hear from some guy stand up on a soapbox, or just word of mouth. That's all it was. And then books came out and newspapers, whatever, but people couldn't read, so they still had to have it read to them, or whatever. But like now we're in the modern era, like newspapers are a thing. Like everyone's reading. That's how everyone gets their news. It's like you don't even question to trust it or not. And then like on TV, like it's been getting easier and easier to like fake things, and just to you don't know what like.
Ironically enough, it's easier and easier to fake things when it feels like we live in an era where it should be easier and to disprove falsity. Like it's just that's one of the things that made me just. That's one of the reasons this movie just really emotionally resonated with me, is that I think that the spirit of journalism and the integrity that it requires to be a good journalist, it's almost lost. And there are obviously still good journalists. I don't want to dismiss everyone altogether, like it's not.
But they're rowing upstream, it's like, but the stream is an entire ocean. It's not a river. It's a fucking ocean that they're competing against. It's like,
literally,
near impossible.
I would urge you to like pay attention to what the Kansas City Star publishes, which is supposed to be the preeminent source of news media in Kansas City. It is comparatively some of the most sensationalized headlines and stories that you could choose. And there are literally reporters like that have been there for 20 plus years in the past few months that have left because of it. And it's it's becoming a major issue.
Yeah, well, everything's become like it's all becoming a major issue, Like I think that there was just one little moment that kind of like broke my heart, and I know this still exists, but not in the same way. They're just when they dropped off the paper and the New York Times threw the fucking thing in their little container, they locked it up and they left. I was like, damn, man, I would love to just go on the fucking corner and pick up a goddamn newspaper and have it mean something, bro.
Like, oh my God. Like, imagine like something like say Kansas just blew up overnight, just over, we had no clue. It's gone.
I'd find out on Twitter.
Yes, exactly. We open up you'd wake up and you're like, holy shit, Kansas blew up, But in this time, you had to go out on the street, grab a paper where other people are reading these same things, and everyone is realizing all of this at the same time. That's just cool. It's just a different ball game. It's like phones are awesome, and it's attached to me everywhere I go. But man, if I could hit a big red button to just go back before this time and experience what it was like to live without the technology fully, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Yeah, just I don't know. I think it is your line. I don't want to steal your thunder. If it is what you're going with, Colton. But like whenever it was said, I'm like, it's kind of like I don't feel like there are many people like this.
Yeah, when he's on the phone with Jeffrey, and I love the way that scene ends, where because that's the scene when he clocks. Yeah. Oh, you're gonna kill yourself. You're about to commit suicide. Like let's take it easy. Whenever he says,
"There's many people that care about you."
Yeah, I'm running out of heroes. Guys like you are in short supply. I fucking loved that line. That was the heart of this movie for me, because these two are the only guys like that in this movie. The New York Times reporter you could argue is like that. He's like, oh, I gotta check with my editor. I gotta run it up the flag. And then he's like, okay, you got page 1 and editorial. Let's fucking do this thing. Let's hear it. He's like, oh, I can't tell you anything, but I'll tell you if you're wrong. And then that whole scene, fucking incredible. It was just, for me, like, I can understand, 𝗠𝗏, what you're saying about this potentially being a little bloated, but I couldn't really point you to a scene in my personal opinion where I was left kind of like, oh, well, I wish this one would kind of pick it up. Like everything I look back on and remember, I'm like, oh, that was fucking good.
It seemed the FBI was in on it too. Maybe that's just how the feds are, and they're just so fucking fed up that it's unbelievable. But like, whenever they're like, "Oh no, you put the bullet in your mouth," they knew, like they knew he had a .38 caliber, sort of
and
thing.
And they took his laptop,
took his computer, gone. Didn't even. Yeah, like in the only piece of incriminating evidence that he had was that email. And the only place it exists in his house is that computer. And it's like...
And he literally calls the guy and he has to be like, look, like, I don't want to say you're in on it, but I may have to imply that if you don't, like, do something about the fact that this just happened.
Yeah.
Whenever he calls up his man on the end, like in the FBI, and he's like, hey, do you want to check out these guys who have jobs waiting for them in personal security once they're out of the bureau? And... maybe some of their former bosses that are already there. Do I really have to look into that for you? It's an incredible sequence of events,
this is like it's kind of like an Oppenheimer moment. He has like this piece of knowledge that I love that Vanity, the man who knew too much. Is that the title?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like perfect. Like, it's like, he's just, not the most socially, except he's very socially awkward, but you can pick up that he was a smart guy. He could focus and he could concentrate very well, and they chose him for a reason. And he was like, they said it was for sales, so I just kept my head out of things where I didn't think it like I should have been. But like, it'd be crazy to like be. It feels like he didn't sign on. He said like, I took the money. The money was nice. But they made it seem that he wasn't doing something evil. That it was like for a flavor or something that would enhance the taste, but it ended up just being like to push nicotine harder, So like it was pure manipulation from the very beginning.
It seemed like what he was getting into was just a way to like literally to enhance the effects of cigarettes, but he also ended up studying the effects they have on people. And when he discovered that, and that he knew they knew that, he got fired.
Was that really a secret for that long? Did people like people just didn't know they were that bad for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was a thing where it showed so much to see how these tobacco companies talked about their own product, like to say that they were providing nicotine delivery. What was it? Nicotine delivery.
Yeah. We're in the nicotine delivery business.
Nicotine delivery business. Yeah. Other than like the tobacco business, which you would think would be the primary part of their product, that's not at all. And it just kind of shows like how they're trying to manipulate people to think like it's not
a smoke to look cool and give you a buzz. It is we need you addicted to this so that you buy it over and over and over again. Like it's, I mean, like business 101, it pays for itself. You know, it's like, I mean, this, like, yeah, it's a no brainer if you're an evil business guy, but like your customers won't live as long. You know, I guess you'll make the money, and you know you'll always have your fresh supply of people, but. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, and I guess cigarettes and like they probably used to be a lot more natural and like just real tobacco rolled up and you know whatever. But then once manufacturing got into it, I'd say that's what really was the kicker.
People have been. I mean, folks have been smoking tobacco for
and like,
hundreds of years. Like that's not a new practice. It's the addictiveness and the chemical enhancement and everything that has really created something evil. You know, there was actually SNL is growing increasingly hit or miss, mostly miss in recent years. You know, but last weekend, maybe the weekend before, there was a weekend update. Weekend update's always been one of my favorite little segments of SNL. A weekend updates segment where they were talking about Australia planning to ban vapes. Like that's something that they are looking to do because. It is. Wow. It's growing to the point where it's getting cigarette levels, you know? And so like one of the things they did, they were like, and now to talk about that, a good old fashioned cigarette. And it's a dude in a giant cigarette costume.
Oh my God. I think I saw a picture of it. I didn't see the actual video, but I saw a picture of it.
It was fucking hysterical to me, you know? And obviously it's embellishing.
Like this Saturday? Just happened?
This past Saturday, the Emma Stone hosted Noah Khan.
A Saturday Night Live skit where they have a fucking cigarette. Are you shitting me, dude?
Oh, yeah.
This
keeps happening.
I don't know. We Tab, I don't know if you're in on this, but like I swear there is a real Truman Show possibility. It's not, you know, it's very unlikely that we're in a Truman Show situation where, you know, obviously it's very, very unlikely. The chances are not zero. And they're like we've been like I don't know. There's just been too many coincidences very recently. Like I mean, very recently.
It's been piling up a little bit lately.
So that's kind of
I don't know. It's you may be onto something. You know, I can't confirm.
You could be into it. You know, that's the thing.
No, 𝗠𝗶𝗰 will recall we did our like 4th episode of the podcast when the peace, love, and bloom and always praise Keanu Reeves thing came about, and then like within months, Keanu Reeves was having a fucking renaissance resurgence of being the most beloved man alive.
That was wild.
You know that new Kingsman movie that's coming out where like the author, her actual things just come true? What if like we got a little bit of that juice, you know? Like whatever,
a little bit of the Argyle thing going on.
Whatever we talk about just so happens to like come back into the public eye for a little bit.
But that was one of the funny, like one of the fucking jokes they said. It was the dude was like, "You want to know how good cigarettes are? You want to know how good cigarettes are? Cigarettes are dessert for sex." They were like, that sex was great, but you know what I really need right now? A little bit of me, you know.
That's pretty funny. Hilarious. I need to watch that.
Awesome. It's only like 2 minutes. It was a really funny skit, but have
you ever smoked a cigarette in your life?
Me?
Yeah, I've never even tried one.
I haven't. I have not tried. And it's mostly because my parents instilled in me a deep if you ever smoke cigarettes, I'll kick your ass sort of thing.
Yeah.
You said your parents instilled that?
Yeah. Big one, big time. I remember hearing stories when I was younger, like my mom used to smoke cigarettes, and it wasn't like she was like addicted to cigarettes, but she would, you know, she you know, like most people our age, like you get drunk.
Drunk cigs. Apparently, I've heard that they're just fucking unreal. A drunk cig, and I wanted to try. That's the closest I've ever gotten. I was drunk, and I'm like,
same here.
I was like, I was maybe thinking about it, but even drunk me was like,
I won't put it past me. I will almost I'm a grown ass man. The odds of me not trying a cigarette are near fucking like
yeah. It'll probably happen eventually.
Yes, of course it will. I just haven't yet. And it's but the thing is that this movie, it was so interesting that it made me feel like I was like betraying good people if I have a cigarette now. You know, like I'm like, look at what these people fought for. You know, I'm like,
yeah, there was a moment where he was like, I don't know, Al Pacino was doing something. He was done for the day or something like that. I don't know. And he reached in his pocket to like pull out just his phone, but I thought he was pulling out a box of cigarettes. Like I thought he was about to light one up, and I literally went, no. Like in the movie, I'm like, wait a minute, you can't do that. That's evil. And I'm like, it's a cigarette. Like what the fuck? What? But in that moment, I'm like, no, you can't do that. That's against your character.
Yeah. No, that's my thing too. Is that like I also don't give a shit if you smoke cigs. That's not something I'm ever going to be like, you disgusting fuck. You know, like I don't care. Do what you want, man. I don't care.
My uncle, he tried it, you know, and his parents are very, very, very old fashioned, very strict. He smoked one cigarette. They found out they made him smoke and eat the entire pack.
No.
Yeah, he didn't keep it down, obviously. But he's from that day, he's like, I haven't even thought about touching a cigarette. And I see why, you know, I mean, after that, I'd be like, yeah, that's it.
Pretty much.
But yeah, I don't know. Cigar, I have tried a cigar.
Haven't partaken in plenty of the. Yeah, I'd be much more inclined to try a cigar at this moment.
Yeah, you don't inhale it? I didn't know that. Don't inhale a cigar. No, I did. Because the first thing I've ever smoked, I guess I had a Juul, but then like I was just used to carts, you know? Like that's why at school I'm like smoking my cart, whatever. I hit a cigar like a fucking cart. And my friend seen me. Yeah. And I literally threw up. And he's like, right when I did it, my friend was looking at me like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean? And then a minute later, I'm on the side of the house throwing up. But yeah, cigars aren't that bad if you just know how to actually use the thing. I did not. I had no idea.
That's interesting. Yeah, I see. My thing is that at this point, when it comes to like carts and Juuls and that sort of thing, I imagine I've done enough damage to my lungs that I need to like stay away from that as much as I possibly can for like another 40 years.
Yeah.
You can absolutely do more damage. I feel like there are people who have.
I mean, you could.
Oh no, I know I could. Like that's the thing is that like I'm certain I can fuck my shit up.
Is that a challenge? Is that a challenge? Are you challenging
me? Don't tempt me with a good time, you know. But that's my thing is that like I'm like I've become a little bit more health conscious in that regard, like specifically my insides. I'm like my heart and my lungs.
Yeah.
I don't want to fuck with that. Like that is the shit where I'm like, if that shit fucks up, I'm done. You know, like that's the stuff that I don't play with.
Gone forever.
Yeah. And I had fucking every day for 5 fucking years. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's, I know there's so much more damage I can do, but that's not no damage. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something.
Kind of a thought that always scares me that I don't like to think about is like, this is new technology. Like, like carts and like vapes, like very new technology. We have no idea what happens to older people. Like as you grow up, like we have no fucking clue what's like going to happen. And like,
I guess this is the lesser thing, but like same with these motherfuckers. You keep one of these in your pocket.
That's true.
What's this do to you? You know,
like more psychological damage, I think, than anything else. Brain rot, I think, maybe could be in a.
Well, and I mean, it's usually the first thing you look at and the last thing you look at during the day, and it's like that's got to change our psychology somehow.
Crazy how like naked you feel if you don't have your phone. Like if you go just walk outside, get in your car without your phone, you're like, I can't leave. Like I can't leave home. Like I could not. I have to go and get my phone in order. to leave.
And it feels like you're in danger. Like literally, like what if something happens and I need my phone, or like even like sometimes
when we just went. I remember just going as a kid. Like I didn't even think of any. It's like I'm gone. I open the door. I'm outside. My friends are 5 blocks down. I don't give a. I'm riding my bike. I'm just going.
Like, what if there's something I need to hear about in the exact moment that someone needs to tell me? You know, I'm like, what if an emergency occurs and I'm out driving? You know.
Exactly.
You know, like it's how often does that happen to me? Never. You know, like why would it happen today? You know, but then that's the other thing. I'm like, well, then like of course it would happen today because it's never happened before. You know, like you know, so that's you know that's the kind of brain I'm rocking.
Is that the voice? Is that the voice of your anxiety?
Yes, it's exactly it. It's exactly that. In almost every scenario, it was like, well, has that ever happened? No. Well, then of course it would happen today. That's like
and the odds are even greater of it happening today than
exactly.
Your anxiety voice has the conviction of Batman. It's like, of course, you must be prepared at all times.
Yes, exactly. With prep time, I can do anything. You know.
Man, I mean, honestly though, like I had no idea that reporters could actually like get that involved in like a drug cartel or whatever that was at the beginning and like just get in there. Like is that like just himself putting his own life on the line to get that information, or is that like CBS like wanting that to happen? You know?
Well,
I mean, it seemed that CBS is obviously like, well, if we can get this interview, that would be lovely. But I don't think they're just assigning anybody to do that. You know, they're not going to be like, and you seem like you're up for it. Go ahead.
Get blindfolded and taken into a back room somewhere and tell me how it goes.
He wasn't a day-to-day journalist per se. He was a producer, which means that he kind of worked on longer-term assignments with I guess arranging the elements necessary to produce that 30-minute segment for 60 minutes or 60-minute segment. So he's just working on getting the right contacts and interviews more so than like the actual journalistic outcome of it. So it's like, I think his job is just kind of to do what it takes in a lot of ways to get the story. Even more than it would be for a journalist who's just kind of following.
You know, and I'm sure there was a point in his career where that he was the guy asking the questions, and he was the guy who was, you know, getting his hands. I mean, like he's the guy getting his hands dirty now, but
he's like he's like an undercover cop, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, but cool.
That'd be a sick ass job. I mean, just to be that story doesn't really interest me. I don't give a fuck. But what's going on in Mexico right now? I'll fucking take a plane and see what's going on here.
Well, like all the people he was calling throughout the movie to be like, oh yeah, see if see if he can get in Mexico City and we'll figure something out. You know, like just throughout.
I thought all of it was trying to connect somehow, but I think it's just a show. Like that's just his life.
That's just his life. That is what he does.
What he does.
There was some impressive tension building, like even at the beginning of the movie, where that package that's like wrapped really weird gets left at his front door.
Yeah, was that like because the Unabomber, that was the, oh, wait a minute. I'm thinking of the Oklahoma City. Was the Unabomber the one who did send packages to people's homes and they went, or was the Unabomber, I thought that was
Unabomber,
like
you're thinking of the right thing in Oklahoma City. I don't know if the Unabomber
the like hospital where it was like pregnant women and children like that. He blew, like that's the Farah building. Is that what it's called? Or something like that? That's the Unabomber with the white van, fertilizer and whatever in the back of his van.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, Ted.
Because that package was because I thought I was maybe getting him confused with that package because I know that there was a serial. That's what they did. They sent bombs in the mail, you know, and I forgot. I don't know. I feel like I've heard that somewhere, but I was like, I thought the Unabomber was.
No, I mean the Unabomber did shit for 20 fucking years before he got caught. Like
what the fuck?
It was a long running thing. It wasn't like he did one thing and then they were like, "Well, we got to catch this motherfucker." Like he did shit for a long fucking time.
Oh my god! I thought it was the one in Oklahoma City, the building, and that was it. Do I have the right person? No way. He was. What? Wow, Ted. That sounds right. Ted. Also known as the Unabomber. Yeah, it's kind of weird looking up a person. I just want to see what building he blew up. It's like I don't. But do I really?
I'm pretty sure he died earlier this year. Actually, like that was like 6 months ago. Ted Kaczynski died.
Oh my god! Yeah, from 1978 up until 1995. Yeah, mail. He did do it through the mail as well, it looks like. Because a mailed bomb kills the president of the California Forestry Association in his Sacramento office. That was his last kill, I guess. Or maybe
he only killed 3 people.
Oh,
He injured a ton of people, but yeah, he only killed 3.
So this
which
is-
only 3 is a lot of people to kill. So like, don't get me wrong, but in a 20-year career of domestic terrorism, it's pretty low record.
Okay, the Alfred P. Murrah federal building in Oklahoma City. Yeah, I don't. Perpetrators, 𝗠𝗶𝗰 McVeigh. That's the guy who I'm thinking of, the Oklahoma City bombing. He was just the one. That's just all he did. Just one building he blew up.
That's interesting. I always thought the Oklahoma City guy was also the Unabomber, but
Timothy James McVeigh. That sounded. I don't know. That did sound a whole lot more right. Yeah, bombing killed 168 people, 19 of whom were children. Destroyed 1/3 of the Alfred P. Murrah federal building.
yeah, that's devastating. That's sad.
Yeah.
But anywho, the beginning of the movie, the one that, like, when he got that package, I thought we were about to, like, the Michael Mann movies we've been watching, I thought we were about to hit the ground fucking running. I thought that thing was going to explode, kill his kids, and we were going to get, like, we were going to roll.
That moment, the whole movie, I'm just like, something gruesome and out of pocket is about to happen.
Wow.
And it never quite did, but that doesn't mean I didn't get that, like, to that emotional.
No, you got it. You got that blood pumping. That raccoon scene, like, bro, when his daughter comes in and is like, "Why is there somebody in the backyard?" I'm like, "Oh no!"
I thought you were talking like when she walks back outside, and he's like, he's looking around. I thought he was gonna get startled and shoot her. I was like, every thought was going through my head during the suspense scenes, and maybe that's his strategy. He made Thief, Manhunter, Heat, all movies in which you are fucking. I mean, it's like you're dealing with death or guns or something of the sort. And then now it's like, so you know what he does, you know, like what it's all about. And then, so maybe you're just expecting that, like from him, maybe like, I don't know if that was like he utilized that, if he knew that people going into the theaters at the time would think of his movies this way. But I don't know, it works. Like, it honestly works better that there's nothing that happens. Like, it's more scary. It's more thrilling to have, like, all this buildup, and it's like, oh, it was nothing. I honestly would rather it end in, like, an explosion or a death and have some, like, closure for me feeling that suspense or something.
No,
but
yeah,
no, it's just
well, and I mean, like, there was, like, a intense... There's this feeling I get that's not really... It happens a lot in horror movies, but it's not like I'm scared. It's more just like, oh, that's eerie. And it's where I get like goosebumps all the way down my back and along my arms and through my neck. And whenever his wife walks into the basement and that email pops up that's like, "We will kill you. We will kill all of you. Shut the fuck up." I was like, like, that's the feeling. I was like, that's a fucking threat right there, man. That was one of the little, if you didn't watch the end, that was one of the little excerpts at the end that was like, it was never proven who sent those emails. But he got those emails. And there's not many options as to who would have sent those fucking emails, you know?
In the 90s as well, you think there's like, I mean, like today, there's just so many people on the internet. It's like, it could be a troll, but like this is insider information, you know, like only a few people knew that he was even talking in the first place. And like knew who he was, would know his email address, you know, sort of thing. It's like, I was like, no shot. Like, no, if I knew something, I don't know. Like, that's the thing. What if I learned something that I have to say, you know, sort of thing. But I know if I break the silence, I'm done, you know? It's like, I think this movie, I don't know, like at the end, it all worked out, but, I don't know if I want to go through all that. That's not a fun, he lost his wife, you know, in the middle of all this, you know, fair enough.
Like that's what sucks too, is you're like, I can't blame her, you know, like it. And the thing that really, really sucks is that like he was doing the abject right thing. He was doing the correct thing to benefit the most people. The place where he kind of fucked up is that he like never told his wife anything. along the way. No,
I
he
think
was
that
never
was
like
they were. I think they were trying to say that's kind of how he always is. Like he's a very literal kind of person, and like every interaction they had, like whenever she's like, I can't do this anymore. Like I cannot handle this. He's like, can we talk about it when I get back? You know, that's literally what he says, and he thinks that that's like a completely okay response to like what. Like I don't think it's like him not knowing what to say. I mean, he doesn't know what to say, but I think it's more of just like, will you allow me to like
priorities at this specific
moment.
moment.
He's just so concentrated that like his idea of social cues, they say it, you know, they're off a little bit, and like I don't know. I guess
the whole character assassination thing, and that might be the only thing about this movie that might be a little bloated. Like I do enjoy the work that Lowell has to do for him, and it creates some of the more interesting journalistic moments of the movie is him protecting Jeff's character and going to bat for him and, you know, disproving everything in his free time and trying his best to, you know, protect this story at all costs. But I suppose if there was a point in the movie that I could consider bloated is that we probably spent a little too much time on the character assassination thing. I think you could get that across with not quite as much as they did, you know, like that might be the portion of the movie I could see as bloated.
And if they're gonna do it, include more of showing how it's making him go like crazy. Like include more of what's his actual name?
Jeff?
Yeah, Wigand or
Wigand, I can't remember.
Wigand, that's right. I knew Wigand didn't sound right. Wigand. I feel like they could have shown more of his like personal life going to shit and like had his wife in there a little bit more, or him telling his kids like I guess he's waiting. He doesn't want to say, or like I don't know. He's like wanting this to be aired so bad, but he won't tell them if it's not aired, you know, like it has to be aired in order for him to even tell his kids that what he's doing, which I guess is a little weird. But
I think it's just that his kids won't understand, you know, like there's nothing tangible about it until it happens, you know,
because like they see him on TV first being like a shoplifter and like a really bad picture of him, you know, that's how they see him first.
Which is wild. It's wild that they really spent the time coming up with 500 pages of a smear campaign on some doctor who's like probably
and
not.
All they had against him was like a parking ticket, shoplifting some alcohol, and like a thing he bought on TV that he didn't pay for, a check bounce back or something like that stupid, you know?
Yeah, and it's like, what lengths do you have to go to even understand, like, to even find this information out, like,
right?
And to think that people are going to legitimize it too, like, it just seemed like a.
Well, this is a practice that you see modernly, where it's like every time anyone does anything to fight the powers that be, or even not fight the powers. I mean, like tragically, one of the more disturbing versions of this is when someone is murdered by the police. And everyone's like, well, how about that time in 2009 he did this? And it's like, so he deserved to die. You know, like that's what you mean by that. Like that's the sort of, like, what the fuck are we doing here? You know, like that's not the point here at all, you know? It's obviously a pretty extreme example of it, but that's still something you see as recently as within the last couple of years, you know, like the smear campaigns. And
every political race is not a race to say why you are the best candidate and why you should be there. It is a race to say why the other person shouldn't.
I've seen some local like some like state level smear campaigns like randomly on YouTube and stuff, and I'm like, this is kind of comical. Like they're just like,
it's
this
hilarious.
person doesn't care about babies or some shit like that. You're just like, someone paid.
This person wants to kill feet.
Like, how about talk about yourself? You know, I don't know.
Right.
Like, why?
Don't tell me why you're the guy. Don't tell me why they're not. You know, like it just.
Oh, it's just you know the right people, and you have a shit ton of money, and everyone that runs the government will be the same people forever.
Yeah, no, it's a disturbing cycle. But nah, man, I think that this movie, we've talked about far more than just what this movie is about, and I think it's because this movie is about a lot more than it lets on.
I think that's the point. Yeah, I think it is to get the conversation going, and I feel like that's why Michael Mann made the movie. I mean, if there is any reason to him making the movie, and like if there has to be, I don't know, maybe it's just
beyond just the story should be told.
Yeah, I feel like that's the message you get coming out of this is that there's so much that goes on in the corporate world that most people just, I mean, you saw everyone in the airport or whatever whenever they actually aired it, like how their attentions were on the news. Like it was like the news was on, they're wired in. Like that's how they got everything, and like even the janitor cleaning the airport, he's like trying to do it, like he's just watching the whole time. And it's because they fully trusted those people. It was like, this is the news, this is where you get your information. But now it's like you try your best to stay away from the news. And like it's only like grandpas and grandmas that still like watch the news. It's like you only get
fucking radicalized by the 5 o'clock news. Like, thank God that's what we've got going on. Thank God that my fucking 70-year-old grandma can watch Fox for a little bit and be like, maybe I'm sorry.
I think the new wave, like it's the new wave of media that will come in, I think, is like influencers, like YouTubers or Twitch streamers or like celebrities will be the money pusher, the like, hey, tell this to your audience, and here's a bunch of money. I think like that's the new way. I think companies are starting to realize how important like a Twitch stream, like Mr. Beast, the biggest YouTuber, like every video he makes is bigger than the Super Bowl. Like it's a YouTube video is bigger than the biggest sporting event. I guess maybe the World Cup is bigger. I don't know. But like he is actively pulling in tens of millions of people, and like it's crazy that he can demand Super Bowl commercial prices for like his ad reads, and that's like that's crazy that that's a thing now. But like before, you had to be a CBS, you had to be like a big, very large company in order to like do these things, and now it's just you could be a random guy making some YouTube videos in your backyard,
which is kind of like helping to I mean, there's always blurred lines because corporate entities have tried to break their way into that kind of more grassroots kind of promotion world, because like I was watched something the other week on YouTube, and it was talking about other YouTube channels that are like corporate sponsored, and it was like a bunch that I'd seen before just randomly, but never thought to be like, oh, there's probably some massive corporation that has like a team of 20 people producing these videos so that they can always have a new video.
They're getting astroturfed, man. Like they're getting boosted because they are not promoting it as part of that. It's not like, oh, and we're brought to you by fucking CBS. Like it's
right. They're just rolling in the dough.
There's a science channel on YouTube that I used to watch all the time. I don't know how to say it. He has like the English name is like In a Nutshell. It's like it starts with a K, like 𝗠𝗶𝗰𝗵𝗲𝗍 or some like.
Oh, I've heard of this one. Yeah,
and I believe Bill Gates funds this YouTube channel, like is kind of the like sole beneficiary of this YouTube channel, and like it was never known at all. Like it was believed that this was just a guy that was very passionate about science. Like it's one voice, the animation style is the same every time, so like it's somewhat feasible to think that it's one person, but no, it is like Microsoft. It is like Bill Gates, like I'm assuming, has some control of what they do videos over, or like puts out what they want. But like, why would one of the richest people in the world want to fund like a YouTube channel so actively and so much? Is interesting to think about. But I think it was Bill Gates. I kind of want to make sure. I want to check my integrity here, and I'm not just spitballing.
Yeah, in 2015, the channel received a $570,000 grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who later became one of their key sponsors. So they started They did start
Oh, okay.
grassroots,
Yeah.
and it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was 2 years into their content creation that they gave them that sort of
Holy
boost.
shit. Can you imagine making YouTube videos and then Bill and Melinda Gates come up to you and like, we want to give you $500 million. What do you think? Right, it was 500 million. That's what you said?
500,000. So half a million.
Okay.
Okay. Still, to me,
Still a lot. Still a ton of money.
half of a million is
If someone
basically
came
half
to
a billion.
us and was like, here's $500,000 to do what you're doing. Okay, yeah, I'll take that. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, media. It's a very interesting. Not a I don't know, like just area of like it's such a big human thing. Like it's such a big factor in our lives, the media, and like it's crazy how like just seen it evolve with the internet and everything, and not because we can look back now and be like, oh yeah, they were so obviously doing smear campaigns for this person, and like we know because we have all the hindsight and we have all the. There
was a dude running for president in like 2004, I think, was trying to be the Republican candidate, and that is what he was doing. And there was a video of him that just destroyed his campaign, and all he did was go, I want to go to this place. I want to go to this place. I want to go to this place. And to top off the whole thing, he went, yeah, and that destroyed him. What? Now, the top Republican candidate has been impeached as president 3 fucking times. Like, that's fucking insane.
Yeah,
that is insane.
I have zero, focus. Zero amount of my energy goes to politics today. Like, it is like, I keep up with just who's the current president and like if we're at war or like with the global conflicts and stuff like that. But as far as like campaigns and like me going to, I am not going to vote. Like I know that's probably bad to say. But like I firmly believe that my vote actually does nothing. Like how do we actually know if our vote does anything anymore? It is a number on a TV screen. And then we're just I don't know. I'm kind of out of the U.S. government for as long as I'm around, for now at least. I don't know. It's going to take something quite big, quite a very big change to rope me back in.
This guy isn't doing enough for you. It's fucking crazy. It's out there. It's great. It's a different world out there now. And we're going to keep trying our best to do what we can by our country. It's great. We're going to do it. Joe fucking Biden, man.
He had one hard line, I think, in his presidency, and it's that we own the finish line. That line, whenever he says, like, I don't know, like it's all patriotic, it's all like war or whatever, and it's, but like that's like kind of the one thing I was like, you know what, Joe? You probably didn't even come up with that, but if you did, good on you, dude. That was kind of sick.
Not.
The thing I was talking about a little bit ago has its own Wikipedia page. It's called the Dean Scream. It was a speech delivered by Howard Dean, the former governor of Vermont, on January 19th, 2004 at the Val Air Ballroom in West Des Moines, Iowa. So at the Iowa caucus. He wanted to reassure his supporters, so he started listing states that he would win to raucous audience before screaming, yeah! And within 4 days, it was broadcast 633 times on national news networks and cable channels. And following the scream, Dean lost more primaries and suspended his campaign following his third-place result in Wisconsin. Some commentators have described the speech as a political gaffe that destroyed Dean's campaign.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm watching it right now, and
he's a decent chance he loses it anyway.
He's I just watched it. The crowd is loving it for one.
Oh yeah.
And like it's very like in happy good spirits, like no side of politically. It's like it's just like a motivational speaker getting.
Yeah. He's just getting hype. Yeah, he's just getting hype. Dave Chappelle did a whole fucking thing. Did a spoof of it. The Dave Chappelle Dean Scream. I'm sure you'll be able to find somewhere.
Wow.
It's very fucking funny.
Wow. I
This
guess
is obviously when the Chappelle
yeah.
show was on and stuff.
I guess presidents back then were much more presidential. Like you expected them to hold themselves in a different way than other people. You know, I guess,
presidential,
and like
just respectable.
yeah, like
Obama,
Obama.
just a guy you're like, yeah, he
was
seems like
the
a
last.
man.
Obama was the last presidential president that we've had. Yeah, honestly, just the last president we've had. Just in general. I think
in terms of persona, yes, yeah. In terms of presence,
yeah,
eloquence and ability to sound intelligent.
Oh yeah, man was regal to a point.
Oh yeah, you know how fucking crazy it is. I don't find myself to be. I mean, like I'm of relatively above average intelligence. I would say I'm not super fucking smart. I am not. I'm not dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For the last two presidents in office, for me to be confident, 100% that I am smarter than both of them.
Yeah. And
I have been since I was 16. You know, like not like, and I was a dumbass, you know, like I'm willing to say that at 16, 17, 18, I was an idiot. I knew better than these motherfuckers. I'll tell you that, you know,
that's why I think, I mean, I don't think it really, the position just doesn't even matter anymore. Like, that's why, like, I don't have any will to, or reason to vote. It's like, the president's already decided long before the polls are even opened, and even whenever they are in there, they're going to be puppeteered and done. Exactly. You know, it's going to be done anyway. So it's like I'm just waiting until I can go to Japan or Iceland or somewhere else eventually in my adult life. Hopefully, I don't know when I spend my retirement days out. But
then leave the country. I would if I could.
Yeah, you know? I would very much like to. I just
maybe I will. Don't tempt me with a good time.
As long as I got a good pharmacy wherever I'm going, that's all I need. I just need medicine to stay alive, and as long as I got that, I'm cool.
I'm good.
There you go.
But, no, man, it's we live in a place. We certainly do.
Look at the combos, though. Look at the combos.
Michael Mann can get out of you. You know.
See? You don't get that out of Heat. Heat is just like, holy fuck, we watched an insane movie. That was insane. I've had no movie experience like that. It was just awesome. But it never once was like, oh, let me think of the integrity of media today and how they are affecting the population right now. And like, I'm not getting philosophical whenever I'm watching Heat, you know. But this movie, no, there are many checkpoints that I have where I'm like, oh, that's how it used to be. Like, and this is how it is today. And like, was a very, I don't know,
it feels highly aware and highly intelligent. Like, it just seems like the people behind this movie, like, there's a reason Al Pacino is in this movie, and it was considered even though it was considered a box office failure, it's just because it was just a damn good movie.
Was movie. Yeah, I guess The Matrix and Fight Club coming out that year. That's crazy to think that was the same year. Just such different movies, though. You know,
1999 is kind of an absurd year for movies.
I was also reading that Disney apparently produced this, which is surprising.
Really?
Yeah.
Disney had its hands in a lot of other shit in the 90s than it does now.
Wow.
Yeah, like they also did Rushmore, Wes Anderson.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Jason Schwartzman.
Okay.
Bill Murray. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that, but I knew I don't know. I could feel. Were there as many mannerisms though in this one as the last was? Yeah,
mannerisms. Yeah.
There was some light blue. Now that I'm thinking.
Oh
back,
yeah, no, like the golf scene
blue.
specifically was very very. Very man-esque. There was, I mean, the raccoon scene. Anytime he is tension building, that is, I mean, there's a moment where Al Pacino gets on the phone high above the New York City skyline, and you can see Central Park and all the fucking buildings in the background, and it keeps shifting focus from him to the city outside, to him to the city outside, and I was just like, oh, you know, Michael Mann loved that location. He loved that location.
Oh yeah.
And every single one of his movies so far, at least the ones we've covered, are there any gaps or any movies in between?
Yes, there are a few.
But at least the ones we've covered, he loves a good horizon. He loves a good Ocean.
Oh yeah, Russell Crowe when he's thinking about going and testifying. That's a whole scene we haven't really talked about. That's incredible. His
Fuck
lawyer
do it
being
whenever, like right before that.
I'm gonna get his testimony, and you're gonna fucking sit there and like all that. I was like, that dude was electric, and the way he shut everybody the fuck down. Like the lawyer that was pushing him was like, he even kind of like sat down.
Objection. He's like, shut the fuck. We understand, dude. Like he's like, she got it in her little keyboard over there. We're moving on. Like, that dude was awesome. He took his 5 minutes of fame and ran with it. He went over the top, but it was perfect for that role. Like that was like I don't know, it fits so well. But the before, like leading up to that, whenever he's like talking with the legal people, and he's like, yeah, once you go back to Kentucky, like you can be prosecuted. Like there's nothing we can do to really protect you when you go back. This is a very big decision to make. I understand if you don't want to, blah blah blah. And then he walks outside, and he's kind of like just like pacing back and forth. And I love like it's literally like a fuck it, let's go to court. Yeah, like he's literally like fuck it, we got it, we're going to fucking court.
There's all sorts of shit in this movie that we didn't really touch on, like his daughter with asthma, like the beginning sequence where his other daughter's like, mommy, daddy, and like they have to run, and the way he like calms her down and explains what's happening and how it happened, and you see like this genuine love from his wife in that moment, which is like the only scene in the movie you probably get that.
It seemed that they were really trying to show that he was a good father. Like he was like
he loved his kids. Yeah.
And even like I remember like they were with their mom for something, and they were like, well, daddy takes me to blah blah blah, like can we do that, and she was like, oh okay, yeah, we can do, I guess we can do that.
There's a few things they do to enhance that character a great deal, like
gardening, setting up the garden in the new house, and then she kind of looks out the window and has another like what I love that moment, of like a parent looking at the other parent with the kids, and like just I don't know, that's
like I've got everything I need sort of thing. I love that amidst the entire smear campaign, Jeffrey Wigand is on TV for bad shit. Like it's he's getting a giant smear campaign against him. He goes to school and his students are fucking wrapped. They love him. They love him. And that's not something they emphasize. They don't tune into that. They don't like, nope. They're not like, and here's how he was a good guy. No, like it's just something they keep coming back to. His kids respect him. They listen to him. He made chemistry interesting for them.
I thought I
love that stuff.
I thought he was about to be a terrible teacher. Like whenever he was like, I gotta teach, it's like I gotta have some job. I thought he was like gonna suck socially. But then like no, he was like from the very jump, like he was like, hey, I'm
Any of you ever taken a chemistry class before? No, well, I've never taught one, so this should go well. You want
to call me something else? Just do that behind my back, and like he was, I don't know, he was very, it was nice, but the moment of checking back in when he was just giving like a lecture or something, was awesome. And I guess there was one other time at the school whenever he's on the phone with Lowell. Yeah, I still can't do it. It just sounds like I'm saying LOL, but the word Bergman. He's on the phone. He's like, like yelling, like he's like, they're gonna smear you. They did this. They brought this out. Like, what else are you not telling me? And he's like yelling, and you can see the kids like, that's like, what are you like? We don't know you like that. Like, what is going on, dude? But no, I forgot that he was a teacher for a little bit in there.
Yeah. No, it's a big movie. Like there's a lot that happens.
It's a huge.
But do we feel like we're ready for a rating on this bad boy?
I think we might.
I think so.
Might be at that time. Yeah.
All right. So as per usual, we've only got enjoyment and critical rating. It's not the comic book movie project. We don't have genre. We don't have adaptation. We don't have all that good shit. So we're just straightforward with it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how are you guys feeling about this enjoyment wise?
I put this at an 8. Honestly, I think it was pretty. It was all around for me. I don't know. I could be talked into a higher number, but I think I'm starting at 8.
I get you. I like that.
For our range, going back, that's King of Comedy. We gave an 8 enjoyment. The Prestige by Christopher Nolan, we gave an 8. That would be it. For 8s.
And we gave Manhunter a 7.75 a couple weeks back.
Yes. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I think
I'm
it's above Manhunter.
oh yeah,
I think
no.
that's
For
sure.
me, this is as far as Michael Mann, this is the 5th Michael Mann movie I've watched. And for me, it's top 2, right behind Heat.
Yeah, Heat's kind of tough to beat. I mean, there's
No,
holy
yeah, like that's
shit,
just.
that was a movie.
Have you seen that one, Tavares?
I haven't actually seen Heat.
Oh, you gotta watch it. Gotta
I've
watch
heard-
it.
3 hours.
I've
It
heard
is.
of
It
it.
is 3 hours,
So
but
it's one of
it is
those.
every bit is worth it.
Okay.
I mean, it is
Probably more so than this one. I think that
It's incredible.
a lot of people would tell you that's one of the greatest movies ever made, and I would kind of agree with them.
Yeesh.
It was very, very nice.
Very fruitful.
To talk about.
So
Yeah.
no, it's not quite that, and we gave that a 10. Enjoyment.
Yeah, that was a 10
That
enjoyment.
was a surefire 10.
Coming out
And
of
whenever
that.
we want to give something a 10, it's kind of there's no hesitation, there's no doubt. You know, it's a 10.
Right.
And that's it.
Okay.
And this is not that. You know, I don't think it's. But for me, my gut took me more around high 8s, close to 9. You know, like that's about where I was, simply because I can't emphasize enough how much the journalism side of this thing had me wrapped. I was
like
just so.
Yeah, I really, really liked the journalistic side of it, and I think if French Dispatch could have had a little bit of that, oh my god! Like if it could have made me want to be a journalist more, that movie would be fucking nuts.
No, yeah, French Dispatch is definitely a whole other kind of film for sure.
Are being told. You're seeing the stories be told instead of the process of it happening.
And it's also less. It's also less investigative. It's just writers writing stuff they want to write. You know,
it's not over a massive nationwide or even global problem. It's just hey, this guy made some art in prison, or
exactly.
This is
and they serve very different purposes. You know, and for me, you know, like when we did the top 100, the French Dispatch found itself around top 6. So I'm also not quite French Dispatch level, personally.
Yeah.
But we also gave that a 10. So, there's that. I'm
kind of liking the just 9 flat is Fight Club, Gangs of New York, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar.
Yeah, I kind of, I'm around there, you know, on a personal note,
Yeah, Mr.
I
Fox
think
is also
that
a 9.
Is it not a 9.25?
It's a 9 flat for enjoyment. 9.25 critically.
Okay.
We were harsher at the beginning. That was early. That was our 4th movie.
Those were early goings. It was early goings. Yes.
But I mean, I'm thinking 8.75 or 9. Does it tie Thief and The Killer? Those are 8.75s.
I mean, for me, for me, I would watch this, and this is going to sound shocking to a lot of people. I would watch this sooner than Fight Club again.
I almost immediately had the instant, in the middle of it. I'm like, I need to rewatch this because there's it's just some things happening really quickly.
It's just a big fucking story.
Two different kind of rewatches. Fight Club, it's just more of a literal fun movie. But this is like a rewatch that
gripping,
you just kind of want to understand it more, and you're like, I don't know, I felt like I missed some cues or maybe some I feel like I missed some stuff probably, and this would I feel like a second watch would be awesome. So yeah, I guess I don't know. I think
Tab, could you get behind an 8.75?
I can absolutely get behind an 8.75, totally.
Because that is still below Fight Club.
Yeah, you know, I don't want to. That's the thing, is that I don't want to hijack the number here. You know, if I hijack the number, it's going to be unfair.
That is fair. I feel like an 8.75 though. That's with
wonderful
Casino.
company. I think this is a better movie than Fight Club. Therefore, I think it would ultimately do better in the rating anyway.
That's fair. I like it. I think an 8.75 that does feel right. After Hours, Casino, The Killer, Thief.
Yeah, that's great company. I think that's cool. I think that's where it could belong. I mean, when I logged this on Letterboxd, for me, it was an instant 5 stars.
Oh wow.
Gave it a
But I treat the
4.5.
letterboxed ratings a little differently than I do. Like,
Okay.
it's just, if I fucking loved a movie, I'm logging at 5 stars. You know, like that's
Yeah,
just kind of how I do it.
Okay.
I'm not as pretentious with my 5-star ratings as a lot of people are. Like, I'd be throwing that shit around willy nilly on there.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. Now, I guess now critically, I don't think it was Heat level. That was 9.75. I don't think we're up there. Thief though, we did give a 9.25, and I feel like the only kind of negative critically of like side of this movie is the kind of jumbledness nature of some things. Like there are like at some points it does get a little chaotic in it's what a journalist life is. You know, it's just it's kind of the point to be chaotic, but it does lead for a little bit, you know, not as a great of a viewing experience. But
right, you know, I do think it lends itself to a incredible visual experience. I think the chaos and the paranoia and everything, they did a really good job of portraying it visually as well.
Yeah,
you know, like it wasn't.
definitely.
I think that there's Michael Mann's already been a unique filmmaker, but this is even another evolution from what we've already watched. You know, like this isn't exactly like any of the 3 that came before.
Yeah.
And it feels like the next step and an evolution almost for him. And I think that that's really fucking cool, you know?
A masterclass in paranoia as well. Like I feel like this is just paranoia 101 for like movie making. This is, I don't know, I'm trying to think of
up there with like Mission Impossible. Like as far as like Tom Cruise's experience of paranoia in that movie is incredible.
Mission Impossible, you have this highest stakes. You know, it's like a spy. The mission. I have only seen the first one, so I don't even know what the fuck they get into.
No, I mean like the first one is what I'm talking about. Like it's
okay.
Yeah, that's the only one where they even really have that angle. That's sort of just like he doesn't know who he can trust. Can he trust anybody? Is there anything like or anywhere he can turn, sort of thing. And this movie provides you a great thing where like he does have that one person. He does have that guy he can turn to. He doesn't know if he can. He doesn't know if he should, but he sort of earns that over the course of the movie, and it's wonderful to watch. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm critically.
I'm there. Like, what did we get Fight Club critically?
Fight Club was an 8.5.
Floor 8.75. I'm going 8.75 or 9. Yeah,
I could go 8.75.
The 8.7 that was Manhunter. We gave Manhunter an 8.75. A 9 would be The Killer. Was a 9.
Have you watched that on Netflix yet, Tavares?
With Fassbender.
No, that came out recently.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I haven't seen that.
Hella good. Strongly recommend. I think you'd enjoy it a great deal. But no, I'm comfortable. I could throw out the 8.75 split. I would even be comfortable with an 8.75 and 9. Mostly because like I just think that quality wise, to have this level of intensity in a movie where, like I said, nobody does die. There are no shots fired. There is no car chase. There's nothing like that. And to be this gripping and this intense and this, there's such a great amount of tension, and to do that through nothing but filmmaking and not really what's happening is astonishing. You know, and obviously part of it is what's happening, but.
Yeah, this is a tough call. Whether it's like, because I'm looking at the other 9s or 8.75s. 9s would be Darjeeling Limited, The Prestige, Tenet, Lady Bird, Gangs of New York, and The Killer, I believe. Those are all the 9s. And then the 8.75s. We don't have many.
Yeah, I'm like Manhunter. Manhunter's a complicated one because I think Manhunter had like his most satisfying visual language so far, as far as Man is concerned. But I think the story is just infinitely more compelling.
Yeah. 8.75. We only have After Hours, Shutter Island, and Manhunter. Those 3 are the 8.75s. Shutter Island, After Hours.
I mean, let's not gloss over the performances here by Al Pacino, Russell Crowe.
I think it kind of deserves that 9 bump.
I
If
think
for
it does
me,
too.
I think it is in that company. Like The Killer was very well made, and like it's kind of more simple, like going on there. But I think like Gangs of New York, like that's a I don't know. The other 9 movies seemed like the
More
right
proper
company that it should be in. Yeah, like a Lady Bird, a Tenet, a Prestige. Very, very well made movies. That's the thing. So I think I'm closer to a 9, but I could be okay with an 8.75.
I'm closer to a 9 as well. I think that as far as this movie being a 9 out of 10, I think I can be comfortable with that. Most recently what we discussed movie wise was Iron Man 2, and where we landed on that one was like 5.5 out of 10.
Critically? Yeah, let's see. Gotta scroll down a little bit for that.
I feel like I was going out of my way to make that one like seem a little more legitimized, and even still, goddamn, 5.5 out of
We just
10.
called it a 5. Yeah, straight up.
Oh, we called it a 5. This is at least 4 points better than that movie. I'll tell you that.
Least.
Yeah, so like maybe a 9's fair. That's.
You know what? Yeah, I'm not that mad. I like that. It would average it out to an 8.92. By the way, an 89. If you're going off that percentage, would put it. The Killer was an 8.92. The Social Network, an 8.92. Killers of the Flower Moon has it beat barely. Never mind. That's a 9.83.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's 98,
that's
not
a
89.
point.
Yeah,
a point above.
Written by the same gentleman, Eric Roth. Also the Killers of the Flower Moon.
There we go. Yeah, and I think I like that. I like a good 89%. That's pretty good. That is pretty damn good.
Yeah, I dig that. And as far as I've been crafting a little letterbox list here, as I am wont to do, of our 2023 ranking by rating. Amalgamating all of our ratings over the course of the year and throwing it upon that list. And this would make it a top 25 movie on the year for us, which is incredibly strong. And that was top 25 out of 73 now. So, very, very high up there.
As far as the movies we've covered in the director's spotlight, I feel like it's in that top half. That's for sure. If not like the top quarter even.
Yeah, when you're talking about the movies we've done this year, we've done 73 total. 39 of them are comic book movies, and in that top 25, there are three comic book movies, or 4.
Oh wow!
Superman.
So the conclusion is comic book movies on the whole are pretty underwhelming.
Below par. And don't get me wrong, our top 25 are pretty nice. Our top 25 are all roughly 88% or higher. We are generous critics, hardly consider us critics, but
everyone's on a different scale, but what matters is what is above what and what's below what, not necessarily.
And frankly, it's the least important part of the podcast. Like the point is the conversation before we get to the rating. We just like quantifying shit. Joseph has the mathematical mind. I love making lists and ranking shit. It just makes sense to me. So that's kind of how I go about it.
I would say that this is the most important part of the podcast. If I didn't have this Excel sheet, I would have nothing. If I could not, that's the thing. I needed. The director's one is very easy. Just two ratings and some favorites, easy. But the comic book one, that's a little more involved. We got a lot of ratings over there, and comparing all those.
The comic book, as far as the top 25 here, four in the top 25 on the air. The highest is obviously The Dark Knight.
Yes.
The Dark Knight is the highest. After that, it is Batman Begins. So Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy reigning supreme there. Then Superman, 1978, and then Spider-Man 2002. So
that's before I guessed.
I'd agree with those.
Yeah, like those are a cut above most of the movies.
Definitely.
So we've had a nice year, and I'm interested to see where we've only got two Michael Mann movies left on the docket. Next week, we're doing Collateral with Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx. So that'll be a fun viewing. I personally enjoy that movie a great deal. So I'm very excited to get to it. And then we're going to top off the year with Ferrari in theaters on Christmas Day. Likely go see that on December 26th and record on that day and have that episode out the 27th. So it'll be a nice little couple days there. Christmas coming a little late for us with Ferrari there. So Michael Mann, excited for that. But we also got some comic book movies in the meantime. Last Friday, or is this Friday Thor? Yes. This Friday is Thor.
Yes.
This Friday is Thor. Next Friday we got X-Men First Class. And we'll top off the year with, we're on a pretty steady streak here. Thor, it's a hit or miss for some people and some or other. I'm personally pretty hype on Thor. I like Thor. But we wrap up the year. Our last episode of the year for the movie coverage is 2011's Green Lantern. So can't wait for that.
God damn it.
I love that movie.
Damn it. I've never seen it.
You've never seen it?
No, I'm ready though. I'm so ready for whatever's about to
So
happen.
we got a lot to look forward to. And obviously on Mondays, we are continuing our Game of Thrones rewatch. We are celebrating Christmas here in a couple weeks with season 6, episode 8. Celebrate the new year with the Battle of the Bastards. It'll be a goodie. So I'm very, very excited for that. And with that, we will conclude this episode of the Penny Bloom podcast. If you would, head to patreon.com/PennyBloomPod, where you'll find over 50 hours of exclusive content, including all sorts of book reviews, comic book reviews, movie reviews, and the like. For $3 a month, you can support this podcast financially, which is huge because it costs me money and I don't make any off of it unless it's over there. Head to Twitter, follow at PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram at PennyBloomPodcast. Remember to leave a 5-star rate and review wherever it is you might be listening and to continue downloading. That is a huge help for us and I appreciate it greatly. With that, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And thank you to 𝗁ris Pennington.
Oh, yeah. It's a great time as always.
As always, my friend, and I will see you this Friday for Thor. With that, remember, peace, love, and bloom. And I'm running out of heroes. Guys like you are in short supply.